What if the secret to creativity isn't just practice, but also surrender? That is exactly what we set out to explore with a group of participants and facilitators that came to Portugal for the Flow Retreat, which just ended a few days ago. And I'm making this video to give you a few impressions, to share with you some of the biggest learnings that we made during this retreat, the impact that it has had on our sense of well-being and where we're at from a presence point of view, as well as the impact that it's had on our creativity, with the hopes that this may also serve you. So the Flow Retreat happened here from the 7th to the 11th of June. It actually ended on a full moon, which was a very special full moon where the moon was very low on the horizon. And it was based loosely on an experience I had last year, where I went in silence and went into a solo one-man retreat here in Portugal in our home and just made music for 5 days. And this had such an impact on my creativity, and I realized that I discovered a few things that I could share with other people, which is how I set up the Flow Retreat original idea, which then grew and became what it actually was. And I'm very happy to share some impressions with you. So the core assumption in the retreat was that if you're able to open an inner space and create and be present from a wide, thought-free or present, conscious type space, you could potentially tap into different layers of your creativity and connect with your music and the people around you, the nature, everything on a much, much deeper level. And I think from what I saw with the participants and what I felt myself, this is absolutely true. So my recommendation, if you want to apply this to your creativity, to your music, is to somehow find a possibility to make space for creativity by removing social media and other mobile phone distractions, by not being on your email or on websites all the time, and by limiting your consumption of all forms of media. During the retreat, the one thing that we asked participants to do was to switch off and put away their mobile phones. There was a number here where they could be reached by their family and friends, but generally speaking, the idea was to just be offline, which everyone did, and was actually incredibly easy for all of us after the initial getting used to one day. The other part of the retreat that I think was very interesting was also holding space for silence and presence. And we actually spent one morning in silence with all the participants up until after the afternoon meditation, which initially I think was challenging for most of us, including myself. But once we were in it, it was incredible to see how much time slowed down and how much more exactly you choose your words afterwards, or even consider whether or not it's worth speaking about at all. So again, something that I think opens up a huge space when not everything is filled with words, and again creates more space for exploring music and the gaps between notes. We had a couple of, I think, very interesting exercises where we were really listening to the details of individual notes and the gaps between the notes and the interval between the notes, to really let these move us and really sense what we're actually doing there in the studio. And then, of course, we did quite a lot of looking at the Rapid Flow workflow, the template, the setup, and more than anything, how it's possible to build track arrangements and ideas in a state of flow much, much faster using controllers than when you're trying to do things with a mouse and keyboard and dragging things around the screen. Having said that, I think a big part of the retreat also really went into looking at meditation, awareness, presence, somatic practices, yoga, sound healing, and also looking inside to see where potentially there were creative blocks. And we had amazing facilitators. One of them is my wife, Una, who led the morning sessions and the morning somatic practice and silent meditation, as well as Benjamin, who is one of the facilitators who was here and did a lot of sound healing and other work with the participants in the afternoon. We had an amazing chef, Tom, who so lovingly prepared food for everyone and made amazing vegan food. We had juices, we had great coffee, and the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I think also through these practices of mindfulness and awareness training, of taking care of our body with good food and with somatic practices, and also just generally really allowing ourselves the freedom to slow down and be present in the sessions where we feel to be present, and also just eject from them and take time for yourself, maybe by the pool or in the garden, or having a cigarette with other participants or things like that. I think allowing ourselves that level of just plainness or humanity of no one has to be perfect when they come to a retreat, and no one has to be, in my opinion, super experienced in any of the aspects that we explore, because the whole point of being here is to expand your experience and awareness of these topics and be able to then express them more fluently. So overall, we had so many different aspects of this. We had meditations in and by the pool. We took walks on the field to really let the nature touch us, and the width also of the country here, to really sense that as much as there is this macrocosmos, there is also this microcosmos of incredible beauty in every square meter that you stop to behold in these Alentejo fields. And I think that very much reflects into our music also, because even though maybe the whole arrangement or chord structure of a song is the most important part from a high level, when you really dive into the little details, just adding these little elements or little gaps or little delay or reverb here and there is what also makes a track moving and beautiful. So we try to bridge all these aspects of the inner space, the outer space, the macrocosmos, microcosmos, sound and technology with ancient practices of meditation, somatic journeys, healing, sound healing, great food, and just allowing ourselves to really connect as people, as friends, as facilitators and participants, where I see a blurring of those lines, because I think everyone gave things into this retreat and took things from this retreat. Of course, we had a goodbye dinner and a wonderful full moon dance and celebration with all the participants on the last day, which was the full moon of the 11th. And actually really enjoyed dancing under the stars to each other's music, which was a very beautiful experience for me, to actually realize that the tracks that move me most are the ones that still have the imperfections in them and the parts where you can really sense the people that made them. So it was very interesting for me to have that comparison. Everyone left in the 1 or 2 days after the retreat ended and is now back to their respective lives in countries all over the world. Or some of them are actually continuing their travels around Europe. Some of them flew as far as India. Some of them are still here in Portugal, traveling in vans. So overall, I think, very wide spectrum of people came together. Some very experienced producers, others very experienced meditators, others just novices in all these things. But everyone came with the intent to really support each other, to hold this space and to explore their creativity through a deepening of their presence and consciousness and awareness. And that for me was an incredibly beautiful experience to be a part of. So I hope that there is some parts in this video, maybe some little transmissions of this space that we dove into as a group. We're going to be doing a proper little documentary about this, because we captured a lot of moments in the retreat to share with you, and just to give you a better impression of what the Flow retreat was about. I'm quite confident that there will be a second Flow retreat and maybe more also happening in the future. So if that is something you would be interested in, I recommend joining our newsletter, because this is where we will communicate that. And other than that, I leave you with the final thought of that I had a strong realization during this retreat that everything is as it is and beautiful as it is, and even if your mix down or your track or your creativity isn't exactly how you think or wish it should be, just being present with that and holding space for that and letting yourself just be aware and present of what you're doing without necessarily judging it so much through the lens of your mind can actually open spaces where things start to flow much more and where creativity becomes easier, and it doesn't need to be judged in comparison to other people's music or tracks that are out in the world right now doing really well from a commercial point of view, but that I would like to instill upon you that it's actually much more about what you have in your heart and what you feel to share, and the space that you create through your music and creativity for other people to be present in and resonate in. So I hope this has been an interesting video to see, and I look forward to either connecting with you on our newsletter or otherwise on the next video here on YouTube. All right, I hope you are well and enjoying this Sunday, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.